Okay, let's continue. So you have strippers make ice down here. S M I. This comprise C5 and C6 comprise the superior trunk. C7 comprises the middle trunk, and C8 and T1 comprise the inferior trunk. So then, of course, everything's got to split again. So everything is going to come off like this. So you have an anterior portion of the superior trunk, and it also has an a posterior, sorry. So this is going to be the anterior, this is going to be the posterior. Each trunk has an anterior and a posterior portion. The middle trunk is going to do the same thing. We're going to have the anterior portion up here, and we're going to have the posterior portion back here. And then we're going to have the anterior portion down here, and then the posterior portion up here, which is why I drew dotted versus solid lines. So the solid lines are anterior, and the dotted lines are posterior. And so with this, each one is going to, of course, branch off again, because that would be easier. Also, I wrote these a little too close. They should be like right here, but it's fine. We'll make it work. So this posterior branch comes together with this posterior branch, comes together with this posterior branch to create the posterior cord. Woo! And then this anterior branch is on its own, and it creates its own cord. And then you have the inferior down here with the anterior, and then that kind of creates its own cord as well. So you're gonna love this new mnemonic as well. So we've got a L, P, and M. Little pieces of money. So the L stands for lateral. P is for posterior. That's the one I can remember the easiest, of course. And then M is for medial. And not to get it mixed up with median, that's going to go over here, because I feel like me-cow will definitely get us on that. So there's that. So this medial portion right here ends up going to the ulnar nerve. And I'll explain all this in a second. And then this lateral cord ends up coming right here to this M, which is musculocutaneous nerve. And then these posteriors come right here and kind of make a half circle, if you will, to the axillary and radial nerves. And then, lo and behold, we're left with the median. And the median is comprised of lateral and medial. So, this is where that little puppies playing makes large messes acronym comes in. So, little stands for lateral, because it's made from the musculocutaneous nerve is made from the lateral cord. Puppies is made from the posterior cord. Radial is made from the posterior cord. Median is medial and lateral. And then messes is for medial. Now, I can explain also where some of the nerves and stuff come off as well if you want. So, the first nerve that comes off is at C5, and this is going to be the dorsal scapular nerve right there. And then you've got, take a long guess, the long thoracic nerve that comes off from C5 that innervates with C6 and C7. So long thoracic is innervated by C5, C6, C7, whereas the dorsal scapular nerve is only innervated by C5. So then coming off the superior portion of the trunks, we have the suprascapular, and then we've got the nerve to the subclavius. Then moving right along, we don't have anything directly that comes off the division, but we do have a lot that comes off of the cord. And mine is going to be kind of messy because there's a lot and I have bigger handwriting. But we'll start with the lateral piece. So up top with the lateral, you've got the lateral pectoralis. And on the medial, you have the medial pectoralis. So that's kind of helpful. And when I was watching another YouTube video, I found out that I guess there is a connection between the two of these. So lateral to medial, which makes sense. So if you can remember the top one, hopefully you can remember the bottom one because they're the same muscle, just lateral versus medial. And then coming off the posterior, we have 3. So we had the suprasubscapular over here. So we're now going to have the subscapular over here. So we've got good gosh, I don't even know how you guys are going to read this, but you get the gist. Upper subscapula and a lower subscapula. And then the random one is the thoracodorsal. I always have to say it weird so I can spell it right. So from the posterior, we have the upper subscapula, the lower subscapula, and then the thoracodorsal is how I say it so I can spell it right. And then, of course, it wouldn't be complete without something coming off the medial. So this is where we have the medial brachial cutaneous, which is the arm. And then we have the medial antebrachial cutaneous, which is the forearm. So hopefully if you can remember the arm, you can remember the forearm because there's just the ante that's different between them. I hope this has helped. I know it's like really messy, but in my mind it makes sense. So I'm hoping it will make sense to you too. If anything, hopefully these mnemonics will help. This one especially will help, at least specifically for the test, to help identify where the musculocutaneous is coming from. So musculocutaneous is lateral, axillary is posterior, radial is posterior. Don't forget the median is kind of the one of the exception. It comes from the medial and the lateral, and then the ulnar is medial. So hopefully you have gotten something out of this. Safe travels, you guys. Let me know what you think.